Hi, everyone. Hello to all the test automation ninjas out there. I hope you are safe and well wherever you are and excited as I am to get started. I'm Eital, the head of community at TestProject, and I'm glad to see you guys are here with us today. I think many of you have already started to answer our special poll, and I see a lot of cool answers that it's great seeing most of you are familiar with add-ons and using them in your test cases, so it's awesome. And I see you guys are also super excited as we are. So let's get started. So what we have planned for you today, we are going to walk through a step-by-step workshop. You can go along with us. That it's all about add-ons. So what are add-ons, how to use them, how to develop them. I mean, we are exploring the world's largest free test automation library that helps to empower our test cases and overcome testing challenges without developing anything from scratch. It's ready to use straight from a huge library of over 1,500 automation actions. So if you haven't heard about the automation add-on library yet, or didn't have the chance to use them, now is a great time to start. With more than 1,000 add-on downloads per day, I think it's pretty obvious why this workshop will help each and every one of us to become a ninja while using this secret weapon. And the best part, each and every add-on has been developed by our amazing community, which is you guys, and built to simplify our day-to-day testing. And finally, we will open the mic for any of your burning questions about add-on, actions, and test projects. But let's start with a few housekeeping tips. So by the end of the event, you will receive a recording of this unique workshop, a very cool certificate that proves your ninja skills, and make sure to stick till the end when we'll announce our add-on ninja challenge. So please feel free to ask questions in the dedicated Q&A section in the Zoom, and we will make sure to address as many of them as possible. And without further ado, our super ninjas, Amit and David, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Meital. My name is Amit, and I'm a solution engineer at TestProject. I will discuss about the intro to TestProject, what are add-ons and what are the use cases. And we're going to build together a full end-to-end automation during our workshop, as well as building the tests together. So without further ado, let's begin. Can we click? Yeah, thank you. So what is TestProject? TestProject is a free end-to-end automation platform to create tests on web, iOS native, Android native, mobile web, and even on API. We run on most major big platforms such as Linux, Windows, Mac, and even on Docker. So let's talk a little bit about the architecture of TestProject. Here we can see the TestProject cloud. In our cloud, we have all of our team collaboration, all of our add-ons, the dashboards and reports, and the orchestration of our tests. On the other hand, on-premise, we have the local agent which is running and is responsible for the recording, the development of the tests, and the execution. The agent has three main components which help stabilize your tests and also reduce flakiness. Those three components are the TestProject Automation Assistant, the TestProject Adaptive Wait, and the TestProject Self-Healing. TestProject Agent utilizes Selenium for web and Appium for mobile, as you can see at the bottom. If you choose to, you can also run your coded tests using our Open SDK. We can't mention automation without talking about continuous integration. With TestProject, utilizing the agent in your pipeline is extremely simple because the agent is responsible for everything that is happening after you trigger your execution, meaning that with a single API call, you can execute, deploy your tests, and even get results back to the cloud, and everything is done by the agent. So let's talk about our add-ons library, which is why we're all here today. So let me share my screen and let's all open our browsers, and together let's all navigate to this add-ons library site. One moment. Let me just share my screen. Let's all open our Chrome browsers and navigate to addons.testproject.io. As you can see, here we can find over 1,500 different community contributed actions and add-ons, which is unbelievable. So let's search a few of them together and see if your add-on, if the add-on you're looking for, or maybe the action you've been looking for has been here the whole time. So let's search for them together. So let me just search PDF, for example. So look how many actions we get using the PDF. We can read a PDF on both web, Android, and iOS. We can get the characters. We can get some words. We can get so much out of it. Let's go to a different action. Let's search for CSV. Look how many actions we have using a CSV file. We can append new values. We can create a new file. We can export an existing file. We can delete a column from a CSV file. There's so many possibilities using add-ons. So let's search for swipe. So as you can see, we can swipe to an element. We can swipe on an element. There's so much things we can do. Look how many actions by just simply typing swipe I can get here. Let's check some more actions. Let's look at our file actions. We can create a file. We can delete a file. We can duplicate it. We can read it. We can rename it. There's endless of possibilities using add-ons. Let's look at image comparison for visual testing. So we can compare an element's image. We can take screenshots. As you can see, we can do so many things using this amazing library. Let's look for an FTP action. So we can see we can delete a file using FTP protocol. We can download the file. We can get all the files. We can rename the files. Let's see tables action. So we can create a CSV file from an existing table. We can read the entire table if we choose to. We can get the link on a given cell, which is absolutely amazing. So many actions which you can utilize in your recorded tests. Let's look at a database. Let's look at a database action. Look how many we have here. We can utilize a DB2 database. We can use Oracle database. So many possibilities. Let's look at our drop-down actions. We can get an item from a drop-down. We can check if the item contains a text. There's endless possibility using the add-ons. Let's talk about JavaScript. We have endless possibilities, as you can see right here, utilizing JavaScript. But the most important one is that you can execute your own JavaScript while using this action. So let me just show you an example. So if we go into the execute JavaScript, and I'm thinking, wow, this is a really useful action. Let's see what else this add-on has to offer. First of all, I can get a few details right here. So we can see who created the add-on. We can see some tags. We can see the language. We can see the version, which is very useful. And here we can get the full add-on. simply by navigating using the last link. So here we can see this add-on execute JavaScript came from a full add-on, which is web extensions. This add-on has over 3,400 downloads and a 5 out of 5 rating. This add-on is very, very useful. So if you ever need to do any step in your test, you should first head over to addons.testproject.io and search for your add-on.
So I mean, we can find anything we want with a simple click, right?
Yeah, definitely, anything. So let me just.
This is amazing. I mean, guys, you have to write this down. I mean, share with us, maybe in the chat, what is your favorite add-on or the action you want to look for? I mean, tell us if you find it. I mean, that's super cool. Let's try it together, right?
Yeah, it's insane. So let me just show you another popular add-on. With a simple search, I can get a full API testing utilizing the RESTful API. So as you can see, we have all of the API calls: put, get, delete, post. Just a single click, and we can utilize this add-on. So let's continue. Let's continue and talk about a little bit about what we're gonna perform today. So
I mean, maybe before that, I see a lot of cool stuff that people write in the chat. Can you see it?
Yep. Let's see. Yeah, I can see. Oh, check is visible. Yeah, we do have that add-on. Let me just demonstrate how to find it.
I mean, we have almost everything, right?
Yeah, almost anything. So we have, we can check if an element is visible. We can click on it if it's visible as well. Let's see what else we have in the questions. We have a scroll to an element, which is an amazing add-on. Scroll to an element. We can scroll to an element by expert, which is another great add-on. Basically, amazing add-ons all around. Let me just move on to what we are gonna do today in our workshop. So today in our workshop, let me just get it.
I mean, 1 second, let me just add to all the people that write amazing stuff.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing, and we will address all of the rest of the questions and things that you have in mind in the end of the part of the explanation. But let's go ahead for the demonstration and the wonderful presentation of Amit.
So let's talk a little bit about what are add-ons, and then we will continue to our workshop together. So add-ons are essentially code blocks that are ready for you that you can utilize in your automation and in your tests. It makes your life very, very easy and convenient. You can just get this add-on and use it whenever you want, how many times you need in your test. So if we can move to the agenda for the workshop, great. So today we're gonna talk about swipe to actions on mobile. We're gonna perform together the swipe to an element. We're gonna demonstrate it together. If you don't have a mobile device available for you, don't worry, just join along with me, and we will demonstrate how it works. We're gonna talk about comparing, get the color of an element, get the dominant color of an element in an RGB format, which can be very useful for elements that are enabled or disabled, perhaps, and other multiple scenarios. We're gonna talk about, we're gonna achieve together a complete end-to-end testing with 6 simple steps utilizing the API call. So let me just share my screen. So for everybody that hasn't downloaded our agent yet or hasn't registered, you can go to testproject.io and download the agent and register. Let me just show you. So if you haven't done it yet, now is a great time so you can follow along in our workshop. So first of all, I will talk a little bit about the requirements. Great. So the requirements are an running agent and an account. This is all you need. If you want to do it live with me, just go in and log in into your account, open test project, and let's do this together. So first, let's create a new test on my mobile device, and let us demonstrate the swipe to an element action. So I'm going to use the iPhone that is currently plugged into my system. If you don't have a mobile device, feel free to just join me along. I'm going to choose for an existing application. I'm going to choose the iPhone settings. So let's choose the settings. Let's create our test. And let's record. So in order for the step to work, let's first find an element that is out of our view. So first of all, let's scroll down so we can get an element that is out of our view. Great. How about music? I think everybody loves music. So let's pause the recording. We don't need these steps. The swipe to an element is going to achieve it with one step. So let's search for an action. So by using double shift, I can freeze the page and get the action I need. So let's drag it up. And let's swipe to an element, Let's swipe to an element, up or down. So we need down, of course. Let's use down. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove this unnecessary locators for my element. So my test will run a little bit faster, just for the demonstration. And I'm also going to reduce the adaptive weight. So now let's run our test. Let's get music out of our view. As you can see, the element is not in our page currently. So what the action is going to do, it's going to search for the element automatically for us. So as you can see, because the element was not in view, it automatically swiped down for us. It's going to happen a few more times before we finally find our element. But this is just one example of how add-ons can make our life so much easier. So let me know, have you guys succeeded using this add-on in your test? Let me know in the chat if any one of you follow along and succeeded as well. So this is just a single step, that a single add-on that we utilize to empower our test. Let's do something a little bit more exciting. So let's move on to web. Let's create a new web test. Let's choose Airbnb, for example. Let's hit record. If you didn't have a mobile for the previous step, you can join me now during our live workshop. You can follow along. I will wait for everybody to finish their testing as well, so we can all do it together. Let me just grab the instance. All right, great. So here we have our lovely Airbnb site. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the dominant color of an element. So let's use this element, for example. Let's get the button. Let's search for the dominant color. So let's get a color. As you can see, this is the add-on I'm using. Now you can download it. Let's output this into our dominant color. Let's save this step. As you can see, we got the dominant color of this button. And now let's say I'm searching, so I'm clicking this button. Let's click it. Let's click the element. Great. One moment. Okay, looks like I have an element that is blocking my view. One moment. Okay. One moment. Let's run our test without this. All right. So let me just show you the power of this tool. One moment. So let me just get the result of the RGB. One second. Okay. Let's first get this element color. Great. Now, let's search for, let's call this great. So now let's compare this element, for example, to this color. All right, great. Now let's compare the two. So as you can see, we got two different colors, and we can compare buttons, for example, disable and not disable. We can compare the maps. We can make sure we get a different map every time. There is a lot of uses for this add-on. So now let's continue to our testing of end-to-end automation. So let me just close this instance. So let me just show you a full end-to-end API automation, which we're going to do together step by step. So everyone who wants to join, please open a new test, a new web test, and let's navigate. Let's call it NASA end-to-end testing. For application, let's choose NASA's homepage. Let's get that URL. Let's give it a name. Great, let's use it. And let's record a test. So now we're going to demonstrate a full end-to-end testing using a single API action. We're going to test both the server, the API, and the UI with 6 simple steps. So let me demonstrate. Feel free to follow along. If you have any questions, you can write them in chat. We will try to address all of the questions. The question we cannot address, we will have a designated Q&A section in the end of the webinar. So first of all, let's interact with the API. So using our RESTful API add-on, which we talked a little bit about earlier, we can add a new step, a get. Let's search for API, get request. So now all we need is an endpoint, a key, an authorization key. So let's start. So the endpoint I'm going to use is NASA's public API. Okay, you can also follow along and do it. It's available for everyone, and the authorization key is public. So anybody that wants to join me, feel free. So we're going to use this URL for our testing. I'm going to also post it in the chat. For authorization, we're going to use the demo key, which is publicly available. I'm going to send it to you via chat as well. One moment, let's send this to everyone. Great. So this is our API key. This is our authorization. This is our endpoint URL. And what we're essentially is asking for is we're asking from NASA's public API for a list of all the asteroids that are surrounding Earth in the galaxy. So this is the endpoint. This is our key. Now we get a full response, but we only want a certain asteroid. We're gonna get thousands of them, but we only want one. So using the JSON path, we're gonna get only the first asteroid. So we're gonna use this JSON path. And our expected status is 200. So let's add it as well. It's 200. Let me just send you the JSON part as well. Let's run it. Let's save this and see that we are actually getting what we're looking for. So first of all, let's run our API request. One moment, let me see. Okay, so my JSON path had a dot missing, an ocean. Let's run it again. All right, great. So let's take a look at this action. So NASA public API returned us with all of this information, which is the entire list of asteroids that are surrounding Earth. From this entire information, as you can see, a lot of information we got as a response. Using JPath, we returned only the first asteroid, which is ID is this. So now what I'm going to do.
Sorry, just one question. I see a few people just mentioned in the chat, the JSON file, if you can send it.
Okay, yeah, I will send it right now. Here we go.
Thank you so much. Very sorry.
No problem. So this is the JSON path you can use to follow along to get the first asteroid ID. So as you can see, we got a 200 from the server, we got the entire information back, and we also got a JSON path to get the first asteroid. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a step manually, navigate to URL. You can all add it to your test. In my URL, I'm gonna use NASA's asteroid search. So let me just grab the link. I will send it as well via chat as well. This is the link. So we're gonna navigate to NASA's search website. So let's navigate there. Okay, here we are. Great. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna output that asteroid ID response into an asteroid parameter. So let's save this parameter. Let's save this. Let's run it again so we would get it into our parameter. Great. We already navigated to this website. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to record, I'm going to search an asteroid and hit enter. So what I'm going to do now, is I'm gonna replace my keys in the asteroid which we got from the API. Okay. Now, what I'm gonna do, let me just go back one step back. Great. Now, instead of 1, 2, 3, let's run our asteroid into the text box. Great. Let's search for it. One moment. Let's search for it. And now let's make sure we're actually in the correct page. Can you please show how to add a parameter? Yes, I will show it. From here, you can create a new parameter using this option. You simply give it any name you want, and then you can utilize it in your test. So now I'm going to add my final step, which is a validation. I'm going to make sure that this page contains the ID of the asteroid. Here I'm going to use the parameter we extracted from NASA's API. Let's save this. So let's change this locator. Let's save this. We don't need that locator because it's looking for a certain ID and we want it to be able to return multiple IDs. So let's go back one step. Let's change the name of this element to asteroid ID. Asteroid ID, great. Let's just change it to ID actually. So let's make sure the ID we retrieved from the API is the same as we see in the UI. So a full end-to-end automation essentially using 7 steps. So let's run our test. So as you can see, everything is working. We used the NASA's public API. We got the response. Using JPath, we got a specific asteroid ID. Then we put our result into a parameter, the asteroid parameter we've just created. Then we navigated to the asteroid search. We search for our asteroid, and then for final verification, we made sure that the asteroid we search is actually the same, and we can see the ID right here. And everything is running smoothly using 7 simple steps. We basically achieved end-to-end full automation using the RESTful API add-on. So I see some questions. I will try to address them. The one we cannot address, we will address in the end, as I mentioned before. What is the add-on I used in step 7? The step I used in step 7 is not an add-on. I simply hover over this element, double shift, and use the validations tab to ask whether it is containing a text or not. And I change the text I'm expecting to be the same as the response we pulled from the server, which is the asteroid ID. So this is how we achieve step 7. Okay, I think that is it for our from our live workshop. I thank you all for joining me, and I think upcoming next we have David with how to build and code an add-on and upload it to TestProject. Let me just, yep. I thank you all for joining me to this live workshop. And David, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Amit, for the great presentation. My name is David. I'm a software engineer at TestProject, and I will be walking you through the coding section of this workshop. We'll be developing a very simple add-on. We'll be going through the entire process of how to get the TestProject add-on SDK, how to insert it and use it in your IDE, and how to upload the add-on to the platform and use it inside your recorded tests. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, you guys should be able to see my screen. The TestProject add-on SDK is available from the integrations, develop an add-on section on the TestProject web platform. From here, you'll be able to see the Maven and Java and Gradle dependencies. This SDK is not available on the Maven repository, so you'll need to download the jar from the page itself. One second. Okay, I already have this jar downloaded, so we don't need to wait for this entire process to finish. So let's go to my IDE IntelliJ. To use the SDK inside your project, as I mentioned before, you'll need to add it to your build Gradle file. So here I'm defining the location of the SDK on my computer through an environment variable. You can, of course, replace this with just the absolute path on your computer if you'd like to. And here I'm including it in my project as a dependency. I've also included a dependency for JUnit. So we can also take a look on how to test your add-ons locally before uploading them to a platform. We'll also talk about this jar task a little later once we get to the packaging part. All right. So we'll be making as I mentioned before, a very simple add-on. This add-on will be a web element action. It'll extract text from the element and will let you verify if a certain desired text appears in the element's text. So to start off, we'll create a new Java class. We'll call it check element text. Now this is the important part. In order for what you create to be considered an add-on, you'll need to implement the correct add-on interface from the SDK. So for example, if I want to make a web element action, I'll need to implement web element action and its appropriate method. If I'd like to create an add-on for Android elements, I'll need to implement Android element action. If I want to make an add-on for iOS, I'll need to implement iOS element action. If I want to make an add-on for a certain platform, which is not an element-based add-on, I can just implement web action or Android action or iOS action. Of course, if you want to make something generic, which doesn't specifically belongs to one platform or an element, you can implement the generic action interface, and this add-on will be available for all platforms on TestProject. So as I was saying before, we'll be creating a web element action. Okay, so this action will be asking for an input from the user, meaning us, our desired text that we would like to see if it is inside the element. So for this, we'll define an element. Let's call this desired text. And we'll need to annotate it with the parameter annotation from the SDK. By default, all parameters are input parameters. We can change this by setting the direction variable to either input or output if you'd like this to be an output from the action. So let's call this input. Let's make this an input variable, and we can also give it a description. Let's call this but text we want to see in the element. And we can also give it a default value. The default value is used if the user does not fill in the field once the add-on is uploaded to the platform. So this is the execute method, which is the method for the interface. Basically, everything you write inside here will be executed inside this add-on once you upload it. Of course, if you have any other external methods and anything else outside this method, if you just call it inside this method, it'll also be used. So if you have some kind of helper class and you decide to call it in the execute method, that'll also work. So the interface has the important thing in the interface is the helper. The helper contains everything you'll need, including the driver and the reporting object. So let's start by getting the reporter. Let's start by getting the driver. So we'll be getting the web driver from the helper. Once we have the driver, we can set its implicit timeout, anything you'll be able to do with the regular Selenium or Appian drivers. Driver get timeout. Here I'm getting the timeout from the driver by default. If you upload the add-on, it's what you set in the recorder's adaptive wait field. And I'm going to set the time limit to milliseconds. And now I'll be getting the reporter, which is used to basically print out messages that you'll be able to see in the UI once you upload this app. So first, let's start by locating the element we'll be using in this step by using the search criteria provided in the add-on helper. So let's do element equals driver find element by. The by will be helper get search criteria, which will return you the by you used in your in the recorder. So now let's get the text from the element itself. Let's call this element text, which will just be element get text. And now we can make the actual check if the element contains the text. So we'll be using Apache Commons Spring Utils. Contains. This will be our text, and this will be the desired text. Okay, so here we'll be checking if the element contains the text. If the element does contain the text, we'll return that the action passed. We can return an execution results object because it's a pass. And if this condition doesn't happen, we can return an execution result failed instead. As you can see, we didn't use the reporter yet. You can do this here in the reporter result method. This will basically be the message we'll see in the reporter before the execution finishes. So, for example, we can create a custom message for when this action passes. We can do something like element contain text, desired text, and we can also set a different message for when the action failed. So here we can write something like element text was this instead. So in addition to doing this, we can also do a little bit of customization. As you can see, we already set a description for the input field, but we also create a description for the step itself. So if we annotate the class with the action annotation, we can choose a name for this step in our reporter. So we can call this check element contains desired text. If you don't give it a name, it'll by default use the class name. We can also give it a description. Searches for, this is a unique little trick. If you give the name of the element, it'll automatically insert it into I, which is the step in the reporter. Searches for desired text in the element. And I'll also give it a summary. This basically just affects the tooltip when we're viewing this in the reporter. Also give a version, but it's not really used that often. So this would be our completed add-on. We can also create an output parameter just to demonstrate how that works. We give it a direction of output, and we can give a description, the element text. We can call this output text. Here, just quickly, let's just set the output text to be the element text. So now if we run this, we'll be able to see in an output parameter the actual text from the element. So instead of immediately uploading it to the TestProject platform, we can also test the add-on locally. You can create a test class and let's call it add-on test. We'll basically just read a very, very short unit test just to see how this add-on works. So let's create a runner. This will run the add-on. And let's get the import settled. So we'll be using, I actually already pre-prepared the test, so we can just take a quick look at it before we move into uploading it to the platform. This test will be using the runner from the SDK as well to create a web test. You can use the runner to create an Android or Android web or iOS or iOS web to test the add-on. For the web version, you'll need to input your TestProject developer token. You can get the token from the TestProject platform. For example, here, this would be your token. The runner, much like the helper, contains the driver and the recorder and everything else. In our test, we'll be navigating to the URL. Then we'll be creating an object of the action of the add-on action we created. Here I'm setting the input field. And here I'm using the runner to run the action. Since it's an element action, here I'm supplying the action itself and the by element locator, which will be used. And in the teardown, I'm just closing the runner. So let's create a configuration. Let's choose JUnit. Yes. Test. From here, we'll choose the test class. Okay. So if we run it now, we should be seeing execution starting. Wait for it to finish building. Okay. Browser opening on another screen. Okay. And as you can see, the action was executed. All of this was basically orchestrated by the agent. As you can see, like a Chrome session was open, and you didn't have to specify the Chrome driver or set up anything like that. The action executed. As you can see, here we can see our reporting result. The element contained the text Ninja, and the execution result was text. So now that you finished testing your add-on and you're confident enough to upload it to the platform, this is basically what you'll need to do. You'll need to go to the platform itself, go to the add-on section, and just press on Create Add-on. So here, you'll need to give your add-on a name. We'll call this Ninja add-on according to the workshop name. And also give it an optional description. This add-on can be used to verify if certain text exists in a web element. Now that we're done, here again, all of these are optional. You can include a link to documentation, a source code of the element, the code of the add-on. Also include tags, text, get text. For example, press next. This section is a bit important. I will not going to be using any permissions in this add-on because it's a very simple one. But if your add-on does any file operations or requires connecting to an outside network or access to environment variables, you'll need to give it the appropriate permissions here. Let me generate and download an add-on manifest. This is important. You'll need to include it in your project's resources. So let me take it from here and include it into my project resources. Inside the manifest, you'll also see the add-on version. You can set it yourself. It's a bit important if you consistently upload new versions, so you'll be able to see if you're behind or not. And once we included the manifest, we'll need to create a jar file of our add-on. So this is where the jar task comes back in the build Gradle, which I mentioned earlier. When you're creating the jar file, you need to exclude the test project SDK from the jar itself. If you don't know how to do this, this jar file, this build Gradle file is consistent for all the add-ons basically, and the only thing you'll need to do is include your own dependencies on a developer add-on. You can find this jar file in your documentation. So let's clean and build a jar file. This add-on. Now we can go to test project, hit next, and upload our jar file. Since this is an element-based action, when you upload it to the platform, you'll be able to choose which kind of element this action will work on. You can, of course, also include restrictions in the code itself. You can also do it through the platform. So, for example, if I choose for this add-on to work only on, let's say, web lists, in the recorder, it'll only appear when I hover over web lists. So I'm going to want this to be inclusive for all web elements. So I'm going to choose the generic web element and save it and finish. So if now we go to my add-ons, we'll be able to see the Ninja add-on along with our add-ons I made in the past. So now let's see how we can empower your testing by using the add-ons in the recorder itself. So to demonstrate, we'll be using the action we just created. And we'll be going to my project. Here we'll be creating a new test. We'll create a web test. Call this test. Optional description tags. We'll be choosing this test on Wikipedia. And let's start recording. The recorder should open up in a bit. Application is loading. So we'll be basically recreating the unit test I did in code, just a little more simple because we're using the recorder instead of coding it. So here I'll be searching for Ninja on Wikipedia. And now I would like to verify that this element contains the text ninja. So here we can already see our add-on. Click on it. And let's search for the desired text ninja. Here we can also store the actual text of the element in the parameter. We can use later. We can give it a default value, which is recommended, but you don't have to. This will just be used if no actual text is especially going to be used if the action fails for some reason. So let's save it. Now let's run the step. And as you can see, the step itself passed. And we can see that the element contains the text ninja. And if we choose to use the value we stored in the output parameter, we can do that as well for a quick demonstration. The actual text on the element was stored in an output parameter and typed into this text box. So I guess this was it for the practical demonstration. Again, this was a really basic example.
Thank you guys, Amit and David. I really appreciate this time and this amazing presentation. Now would be a good time, everyone, to raise your hand for any question you might have. So let's see.
Hello.
Santosh, can you hear us?
Yeah, hi. This is Santosh. I can hear you. So my question with respect to this add-on is, since we are already having this Java integration to develop add-ons, so I am a .NET developer. So I use C# daily. So do we have any support for C# using OpenSDK? And I believe these add-ons are on right now on this legacy, right? Version 1. So do we have any upcoming support for OpenSDK and as well as for the C#?
Okay, let me clarify a few things. There's the Addon SDK, and then there's the Open SDKs. The Open SDKs are the open source, newer versions of the SDKs that you can see on GitHub. The Open SDKs, you cannot use them to create add-ons, but with the Addon SDK available for Java, you can create add-ons, and there also exists a legacy SDK for C#, which was the original SDK before we released the C# Open SDK. And using the C# legacy SDK, you can also develop add-ons, but those add-ons cannot be shared with the community. And I guess hopefully that will answer your question.
Okay. Okay. But is there any plan for sharing those add-ons as well, or no?
Currently not, as it's the legacy SDK, and we're moving forward with the newer ones. We decided to focus on Java for add-on development mostly.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Thank you, David.
No problem.
Thank you, Santosh, and thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure hearing your question.
Thank you.
Next question we have from George. George, can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is, once after we create an add-on and upload it, will it be available for the community?
George, are you there? I think you got cut off. But I think I already understood your question. Once you upload an add-on to your account, it will be available only to you and users from your account. If you would like to share the add-on with the community, you can submit a share request. Then we'll review it. We'll talk a bit, and then you can get your add-on published and share it with the community as well.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Next one is Bhavik. Can you hear us?
Hi, I can hear you. So my question is like we have too many add-ons available on TestProject for our recording the end-to-end test, but like we are also developing something with the Open SDK as well. So is there any possibility that we can use any existing add-on into our Open SDK while we are actually like coding the test?
Actually, there is a way. The SDK should allow you to execute add-on proxy jars. If you head over to the add-on section, you should be able to download a proxy jar for that add-on. The SDK documentation should have something about this. And
Maybe,
yeah,
maybe you can share and maybe show it to Bhavik.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you, if possible.
Okay, we close this and go back to TestProject. In the add-on section, if you open an add-on, as I said before, you can download a proxy jar here or the Open SDK currently for you can download them. Currently, just the C# Open SDK does not have this capability. But for the Python Open SDK and Java Open SDK, you can download a proxy jar, and there should be actions in the SDK that allow you to execute them. If you generate the code of a test that uses an add-on, you should be able to see an example of this. Here. As you can see, the add-on was generated here as well, and the actual code should be using it to open.
I see. Yeah, this is helpful. Thank you. I was not aware about this.
No problem. Do we have any add-ons on authentication modules, flow, Okta, etc.? I don't believe we have anything specific for that. Recently, or not so recently, we released a few add-ons.
Can you repeat the question? Which add-on are we looking for?
Add-ons on authentication modules, flow, Okta, etc. I don't believe we have.
No, we have an add-on for the OTP on mostly on mobile, but I don't think we have an available add-on for that kind of authentication.
I think that yeah, guys, I think that we don't have, but we do have some. If someone looking to do some basic authentication, there is an add-on for navigating to URL and then performing basic authentication. It's not an Okta, right? And nothing's very sophisticated, but you can overcome basic authentication with this navigate to URL and supply username and password. So if you have like basic authentication websites, we have an add-on for that, but not for Okta.
Right. So hopefully that addresses the question. Next one, what about sending, Amit, for you? What about sending a post request and receiving response to callback URL and checking response? That response can be done in test project. Is it planned to implement a way to create a temporary endpoint? Checking receive response to that endpoint, like in a PyDream website, or I test this scenario manually. I don't think I clearly understood that question. Mark, Amit, if you want to clarify a bit, or we can also ask, the person who asked the question itself to elaborate.
I think it is possible if you have the expected URL request. I think you can definitely achieve what you are trying to do. If you have the expected URL and the expected response, you can do it dynamically using parameters. So there shouldn't be any issue with what you are referring to. If you could please let us know if that answers your question. If that answered your question. Also, I would like to make it clear that we are available at our live chat. Let me just show this. So if anyone is not familiar, we are available at our live chat right here. So if you have any questions, if your question has not been answered or anything like that, we are available right here. You can send us a message anytime or via our forum. You can also find our docs, blogs, and you can send us a ticket or email. So just in case anybody's question has not been answered, following up on that, yes, what you are asking to do is possible if you have the URL, the expected JSON, and the expected result. So do we have any other questions?
Okay, the next question is, any best practices to create test cases? You don't combine lots of things, check one thing at a time and combine tests, trying to see what worked out for others. I think Christopher Kent gave a really great answer to this question. Personally, I think the best strategy is like creating some kind of basically lots of reusable template tests or something like that, and then either combining it with data-driven testing or via nesting test cases inside other tests as well. Amit, do you also have some kind of preferred strategy?
Yeah, so first of all, you want to reduce any inconsistent steps or locators from your test. Just eliminate anything that is inconsistent. Also, try to use as little action as needed. So, for example, in our first swipe to an element test, we had an element. We could have swiped 4 times manually for this element, or we could swipe to an element using a single action. So it's much cleaner that way. It's also much more consistent, and it will reduce the flakiness of your test, because we are not expecting an element in a certain place, but it's more dynamic. So this is another point. You should always try to make your test as dynamic as possible, if it's with the steps or with the locators, and also try to use the nested test, as David said. So don't repeat steps in your test. Try to repeat, instead of repeating multiple steps, repeat a single one using a nested test. So David, do you have anything to add to that?
Not really. I think we can move on to the,
Yeah, I think we can move on to the next question.
all right. The next one is by Maria Johnson. Looking forward to our meeting on Monday. We'll try to address the horrible audio issue by then. Can you speak about the extended swipe add-on? Okay, so the swipe to element add-on contains multiple actions. Some of them, the more recent ones, are the simple swipes, which require less user input, but the original ones were renamed to the extended swipe actions. They basically require more inputs from you and are more similar they're basically just something more advanced, because inside them you can specify the screen margins. The simple ones, it's done automatically, and the simple ones, when you say down, you'll see the screen moving down, and in the extended ones, it's basically inverted to be according to finger movement. If you move your finger up on the phone screen, it'll move down. If you move it down, it'll move up. Basically, that's the only difference between them. The next question is verify email add-on. Verify emails is very specific to the email provider. We don't have a specific add-on to verify emails, but I guess it shouldn't be too difficult to create a simple, short, reusable test that logs into your email account and checks if something is received in there.
Mm-hmm.
But we do also have an add-on that actually can send emails via the simple mail transfer protocol.
Yeah, I think I will read the next question, David. So the next question is, there is no add-on that scan QR code images. Let me, I need to actually check that. I think we do have an add-on to scan images, maybe not to get the address out of the QR code, but we do have an image comparison. So if you can be more specific on that.
Actually, let me correct you. We do have an add-on to scan, to decode QR codes.
Oh, okay. Right.
But this add-on is built using the Google Zebra library, and this add-on can only decode either images from your machine or images in your application, but it can only decode them to text. So basically, if you need to scan a certain QR code to get a URL, you can use that add-on and then receive the URL from that QR code.
Okay, great. So yeah, so I will read the next question. Do you have an add-on to capture or simulate a touch ID / a fingerprint? Correct me if I'm wrong, David, but we do not have an add-on to simulate this, right?
I don't think we have an add-on to simulate this, but it should be possible. Not sure if it's possible to do this on physical devices, but on emulators or iOS simulators, I think that functionality should be possible to create.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the next question is there an add-on for evaluating a particular element value within a row based upon another element value in the row used as a locator? So let me just read it again. So I'm not exactly sure, Christopher, what you are trying to do. Are you trying to locate an element child or an element parent using a locator? I'm not exactly sure what you are referring to in your question.
If Christopher, if you're here, you can always feel free to raise your hand and join in on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, Christopher raised his hand. Let's add him. Great.
Yeah, Christopher, you can speak.
Hello, Christopher.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Okay, great. Yeah. So for instance, I have basically different reports, and the my current application is an online B2B application where we sell products to other businesses, and so our clients will they'll create a cart basically and allocate various items that we will potentially sell to them, and that'll display in a list format. And so like the different columns of the list that represent their cart will have the name of the product, the price of the product, the quantity that they want to order, things of that nature. If, for instance, I'm looking at a particular product in their cart, I want to verify that its price is accurate, for instance. So I locate the part in their cart based upon the element's name, but then I want to compare the comparable value that's associated with that, which would be the price, but it's in a different column on that row. How can I use an element that I can locate to find another element that has a relationship to that element, but that I can't find that particular element's, I can't actually locate that particular element, for instance.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I understand the question. Yeah. So you're locating the first element using the list add-on, correct?
Well, it could be anything, but yeah, you locate one element that you can consistently identify, and then you're trying to find another element that is much harder to consistently locate, but that is based upon the relationship to the first one that you can definitively identify.
Okay, I understand your question. I don't think we have an available step to do it. However, it is possible using a locator. You can find the first element, which is already been found for you automatically. So from this element, it's just a matter of a simple expert syntax to find the next element. So what you're trying to do is definitely possible. I don't think we have an available step for this. However, David, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we have in a list to find the next. We do have. Let me just search this for you.
Yeah, there is this XPath syntax that can be used. Hi, it's Mark. There is a XPath syntax that can be used to locate elements that are near. Like you can use XPath to say, hey, I want the first label or the first div or the first I don't know, text box that coming right after the element that you can locate. And we actually advise using this technique on Salesforce and other application which are usually dynamically create most of the elements, and you cannot nail them. So you're nailing the element.
That's the root of my question, exactly, because that's the problem that I was presented is these elements are dynamically generated based upon the contents of the user, and so it's not going to be the same div or location in the DOM every time, and so that's exactly the crux of the problem.
Right. So you can basically utilize dynamic XPath. So you can basically utilize a dynamic XPath based on the fixed element, for instance, text. If you have a fixed text or fixed, I don't know, label somewhere, which is always there. And then you can create a dynamic element that which is said, okay, give me the first div or, I don't know, text box that coming right after this element. I will search for this syntax. It's an XPath syntax, so I will search for it and I will post it here in the chat. So let's move on to another question, but I will post this syntax.
Thank you very much.
Let's continue with the questions. Let's see what is next. So is there a way I can integrate TestProject with JMeter or any load test platform to perform a load test with both desktop and mobile projects executed in parallel? So one moment. So I don't think we have a way to integrate it out of the box. So we don't have any integration available currently, but you can execute your tests in parallel on both desktop and mobile in TestProject using Docker agent. So this is one possible solution to execute in parallel. For mobile, however, you can either utilize device farms or emulators. For web, you can execute as many tests as you want utilizing Docker. So this answers most of the questions. Is there an add-on for click on element within a saved image? So we have an add-on to click on an element. I'm not sure what you mean by saved within a saved image. If you mean to click on an element with a certain image, you can search for that image ID or for that element that you are trying to click on and get the result. I'm not exactly sure what you mean within a saved image. How do we handle Canvas HTML5 elements? Mark, are you familiar with this one?
Yeah, I can answer that.
Okay.
It's an add-on for HTML5 Canvas elements, which you can find on the community page, and you can use it to basically specify some coordinates and then draw on that canvas. So hopefully that is what you are looking for. And if you have any suggestions to add or improve something in that existing add-on, you can feel free to suggest your ideas in the workshop forum thread.
The next question, can we use Java built add-ons within the Python SDK? So I think this one is for you, David.
I think we already talked about this earlier with the proxy jars and the code generation examples. The next question is how to create specific action for Appium, iOS and Android both. As I mentioned earlier, you can create multiple kinds of actions. If you want to create something which is not using a driver and will be available for all platforms, you can create a generic action. But if you would like to create something that is generic for both Android and iOS, you can create a base class using the Appium driver. Basically write the shared logic in there, and then create two classes, one that will implement the Android action class and interface, and one that will implement the iOS action interface. And then they can also extend your base class and call the logic from the base class. So basically, you created one add-on, which will have two actions, which will use the same code for both of these platforms.
Great. Our next question.
Okay, guys, we have time for one last question before moving on to announcing our Ninja Challenge we have planned for this month. So go ahead. Maybe you can read it, Amit.
All right. So the next question is, could you save a text from a Unity app? So I don't think there's should not be a problem, not that I'm aware of. Should work as expected, like any other get text action. Okay, so moving to you, Meital.
All right.
Thank you, guys. It was really amazing, and thank you for answering all of this wonderful questions. So thank you, everyone. And before we say goodbye, drum roll, please. Let me introduce you to our Add-on Ninja Challenge. How this is going to work, now that you know everything there is about add-ons, how to use them, their benefits, and how to even create your own custom add-on, it's time to play. So post on LinkedIn about your experience using add-ons until the end of this month. You can choose one of the following options: share a test using add-ons, share how add-ons change your automation for good, or any other creative post on add-on. And feel free to ping me on my LinkedIn for any questions about this exciting challenge. You got this. And I'm looking forward to seeing your posts all across social media. And don't forget to tag TestProject while using the hashtags @AddonNinja. So that's it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And thank you, Amit and David, for this great workshop and for answering all of this fantastic question today. For more questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us via our support channels. We put these links in the chat. Plus, we just opened a special thread for you to continue the discussion. Any question you still have about this workshop, or if you have any suggestions for new add-ons, or if you need more explanation about the Add-on Ninja Challenge, please add them in the dedicated thread and we will address them. So take care, everybody, and we'll see you at the next event. Bye-bye.